In this session, I'll be showing how an administrator creates a password policy in XSpectra. I'll be showing an administrator logging into XSpectra, selecting the Manage Password Policy task, selecting to create a new password policy, setting the parameters for the policy, and submitting the policy. To begin, an administrator would log into their XSpectra user console with their username and password. Here we are logged in as an administrator, James Walker, and this is in James Walker's user console in XSpectra. So today we'll be creating a new password policy for the organization. By clicking Policies, we'll be able to view the available tasks that an administrator would be able to choose. So we'll be selecting Manage Password Policies, and we're going to be creating a new policy today. Now, an administrator is given a choice of either creating a new policy or creating a copy of a current policy. So we'll be creating a new policy today. Click OK. Here, an administrator would be able to enter a name for the password policy, maybe a brief description about what the password policy is, whether or not this password is enabled or disabled upon creation. An administrator is able to choose whether this password policy is for the entire organization or for a select user group or user. So say for an administrator or administrators group, a particular password policy can be assigned to them, meaning that they would have a stronger password than basic users. And that all can be modified on this password policy page. So we'll leave it open for the entire directory in your organization. An administrator is able to turn on some of the features of the password policy, such as how long the password stays valid for before expiration. So we can change that to 90 days. We can choose whether after 90 days, if this account is disabled, or to force a password change. And if you're choosing to change a password, how many days before are you reminding a user? So we can set, say 5 days before a user's password expires, they've received warnings to change their password. We can set password expirations for inactivity, say 180 days, and we can choose to disable the user. We can choose for incorrect password attempts. So after, say, 3 successful incorrect passwords for 15 minutes, the account will be locked. And we can choose after 15 minutes to re-enable the account. An administrator is able to change the composition of the password policy by setting a minimum password length, a maximum password length, how many uppercase letters, how many lowercase letters, how many letters in general, numbers, punctuation. All the composition of the password policy can be modified on this page, as well as restrictions for the passwords. How many days in between a password use can it be tried again? How many different passwords must you use before a repeating password? And how different a password is from the previous password. So if you want to make sure users have an entirely different password, that it's not just off by one number, you can modify, say 100% different. It means it's a totally different password than the previous password. You could choose if it's just a lowercase, you could choose the case sensitivity of the password, if you want all lowercase or all uppercase. If you want any white space for the user's password, can all be modified by an administrator through this Manage Password Policy screen. And that is how an administrator creates a password policy in XSpectra. To review what I've demonstrated, I've shown an administrator logged into XSpectra, selected the Manage Password Policy task, selected to create a new password policy, set the parameters for the policy, and submitted the new policy. And that is how an administrator creates a password policy in XSpectra.